مجنون ولقد رآه بالأفق المبين وما هو على الغيب بضنين وما هو بقول شيطان رجيم فأين تذهبون إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين.
صلوات بر محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة يردن الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومهم من بعدهم من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا الصيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع الذين محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرناه فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض من أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أن حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم مما عملت أيديهم وخلقنا لهم من مثلهم ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم انفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أن نطعم من لو يشاء الله طعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون تصدية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في السور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وإن عبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمنا شعرا وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا نعما فهم لها مالكون وظللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله لهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يروا الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق منه مثلهم بلى وهو الخلق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا ويقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسول النبي الكريم. صلوات بر محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل.
صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أنها قالت: دخل علي عبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: يذك بالله يعبته من الزعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. الله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله. أتعزن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب هودي. قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه. السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله. أتعزن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي. قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. الله. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. أتعزن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصيي وخليفتي والصاحب لوائي. قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. اللهم صل. ثم أتيته نحو الكساء وقلت: السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله. أتعزن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بزعتي. قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ برسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن صالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورزوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. اللهم صل على. فقال جبرائيل يا رب أتأذنني أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لندخل معكم. فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. اللهم. فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم رجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم رحمة وخفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلا أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل. فقال أبي رسول الله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم.
صلوات. कहा जाए आखिर बयाबा है हर شکستہ ہے پہلو اکیلی ہے زہرا کہا جائے آخر بیاباں ہے ہر سو شکستہ ہے پہلو اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا در فاطمہ کو جلایا ہے تم نے کیا وعدہ اپنا بھلایا ہے تم نے در فاطمہ کو جلایا ہے تم نے کیا وعدہ اپنا بھلایا ہے تم نے تماچے نہ مارو مسلمانوں جاؤ علی کو بلاؤ اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا بیاں کس سے جا کر کروں درد اپنا ہے غیروں کی دنیا نہیں کوئی اپنا بیاں کس سے جا کر کروں درد اپنا ہے غیروں کی دنیا نہیں کوئی اپنا کوئی جا کے بابا سے کہہ دو یہ جا کر کہ لے جاؤ آ کر اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا اے لگتے جگر حسن ابن حیدر یہ نانا کے پہلو میں سونے نہ دے گر تم آ جانا پہلو میں سو جانا ماں کے بقی میں یہاں پر اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا شاہ کربلا نے کہا رو کے ماں سے یہ مظلوم بیٹے نے مظلوم ماں سے شاہ کربلا نے کہا رو کے ماں سے یہ مظلوم بیٹے نے مظلوم ماں سے اکیلا ہوں میں بھی اکیلی ہے زینب اکیلے ہے بابا اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا سرے مرغ اختر تھا زہرا کا نوحہ کب آؤ گے مہدی کب آؤ گے بیٹا سرے مرغ اختر تھا زہرا کا نوحہ کب آؤ گے مہدی کب آؤ گے بیٹا خدا کے لیے اب یہ پردہ ہٹا دو چلے آؤ آؤ اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا کہا جائے آخر بیاباں ہے ہر سو شکستہ ہے پہلو اکیلی ہے زہرا صلوات
صلوات
آواز بلند صلوات. اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. قرآن سر بلند ہوا، بچ گئی نماز. ایک ثانیے بطول کے خطبوں کے اثر سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. ایک سجدہ شبیر سے اسلام بچ گیا، خون حسین دین کی رگ رگ میں رچ گیا. قرآن کے حافظوں نے جلا یا نبی کا گھر، لوٹی ردا بطول کی ہے بیٹی کے سر سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. یہ آج صبح و شام جو سنتا ہے تو اذان، تکمیل اس کو دے گیا اکبر سا نوجوان. اسلام کی بقا کے لیے کرب و بلا نے کھینچی سنا حسین نے بیٹے کے جگر سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. اصغر معصوم پیاس کی شدت سے مر گیا، اور اپنی ماں کی گود کو ویران کر گیا. جس کے گلے میں مار دیا حرملا نے تیر، پانی تو اس کے واسطے مانگا تھا شمر سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے، اے کلمہ گو سنو. بازار شام عابد معصوم آ گیا، جو ساتھ لے کے زینب و کلثوم آ گیا مولا علی کی بیٹی یہاں ہاتھوں میں رسن سہمی کھڑی ہیں بیبیاں ہے شہر کے در سے اے کلمہ گو سنو اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے اے کلمہ گو سنو زہرا کی پاک چادریں تطہیر کے تلے اسلام اور حسین میں ایک ساتھ ہی پلے دیتے نہ جو حسین اگر دین کو پناہ اسلام نے مر جانا تھا پہلی ہی اثر سے اے کلمہ گو سنو اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے اے کلمہ گو سنو گرتے ہیں پھر سنبھلتے ہیں راہوں میں عابدین سر پہ غموں کی دھوپ ہے سایہ کہیں نہیں برسات و سنگ و خشت کی اختر ہے چار سو آل نبی کا قافلہ ہے گزرا جدھر سے اے کلمہ گو سنو اسلام کو حیات ملی زہرا کے در سے اے کلمہ گو سنو آواز بلند سنا
صلوات جناب ہے بلخیس پاس بائیں یہ کس کی جناب ہے مریم درود خواں ہے یہ کس کی جناب ہے شان خدایا ہے یہ کس کی جناب ہے دہلیزہ کرسی زمین سے لیتی ہے گوشے پناہ کے بیٹھا ہے عرش بیٹے پکارتے ہیں کہ للہ باہر آؤ امانہ اتنا رو غلاموں پر رحم کھاؤ ہم کپڑے ہم کہاں نانا کہاں گئے ہیں بلا لائے ہم بتاؤ ہم کپڑے پھاڑتے ہیں نہیں تو ہم کپڑے پھاڑتے نہیں نانا کے بعد آئے بے قدر ہم ہوئے سب ایک طرف سب ایک طرف حضور کے باہر سے مرتضی گئے گھر میں جھکایا سر منہ ڈھانپے رو رہی تھی اکیلی وہ خوشیاں دینے لگے پیام عرب شاہ بہروبر گھبرا کے بولی ہائے گھبرا کے بولی ہائے کروں قابو میں موت ہوئے تو مر جاؤں یا علی بابا کا سوگ لے بابا کا سوگ میری طرف سے لے مدینے کو دو پیام لوگوں خفا نہ ہو میری رخصت ہے صبح و شام دو چار دن تمہارے محلے میں مقام رونے کی دھوم ہو چکی رونے کی دھوم ہو چکی گھبراتی ہوں وطن میں سفر کے مہینے سے بابا سے دھرے کام بابا سے دھرے بولی کہ آج رات کو ہو جاؤں گی بہار کل میرے کاروبار میں تم ہوگے خود نثار خدمت کا میرے بچوں کی ہوگا کیسے خیال نہلا دلا دیا کہ نہلا دلا دیا کہ کرتے بھی دھوئی خود بھی کل تک کا دے چلی سیرانہ دیکھا پھر تو ہر ایک محل میں محشر بپا ہوا اپنے پرائے دورے کے ہے یہ کیا ہوا فضا پکاری سیدہ کا واقعہ ہوا حجرہ بطول پاک چھاتی خلق سے دیکھنے والوں کی پھٹ گئی منہ رکھے منہ پہ اے میری کا کشمیری نادار جان اے میری بے دوا میری بیمار جان کعبے کی آبرو میری سردار جان اے میری صابرہ اے میری صابرہ نانا موئی تو تی کوئی تازہ خطاب دو اماں جواب دو اماں جواب دو نانے سے سر کھلے ہیں نہیں سر پہ ٹوپیاں کہتے ہیں کچھ تو منہ سے نکلتا ہے ماں لکھا ہے جب جنازے پر پہنچے وہ نیم جان حضرت سے دیکھا مردے کا حضرت سے دیکھا مردے کی اماں غلام آئے ہیں رخصت کے واسطے جاتی ہو تم زیارت کے واسطے صلوات.
صلوات. سلام علینا نے کیا کیا جفا کی نشا کی ہوئی المشکل نہ چھوٹی دم مرگ تک فاطمہ سے اطاعت علی کی عبادت خدا کی رہے ہر شکیل سے مجروح دونوں رہے ہر شکیل سے مجروح دونوں یہ حالت تھی مخدوم یہ کہتی تھی بنت علی وقت غارت کچھ شمر قیمت نہیں اس رضا کی میرے سر پر اللہ رہنے دے سکو میرے سر پر اللہ رہنے دے سکو کہ یہ کون چادر خیر تماشائی کہتے تھے کوفے میں ہنس کر یہ سر ننگ زینب قدرت خدا کی اٹھا رات کو جس کی ماں کا جنازہ اٹھا رات کو جس کی ماں کا جنازہ وقت دن کو محتاج ہے گردا نہ باندھو میرے ہاتھ نہ باندھو میرے ہاتھ قیدی تھی زینب لائنوں میں بیٹی ہوں مشکل کشا کی سلام فرزندوں کو پھر فاطمہ زہرا نے بلایا گودی میں بٹھایا کبھی سینے سے لگایا بالائے جبیں سے لیے اور یہ سنایا لو پیاروں کے ہنگام جدائی کا بایا لو پیاروں کے ہنگام جدائی کا بایا اب تم سے جدا ہوتی بطول عذرا ہے یہ آخری ذرا تمہیں پیار کیا ہے یہ آخری ذرا تمہیں پیار کیا ہے حیدر سے کہا ان کو نہ پہنچے کوئی ایذا یہ ہے میرے پیارے کبھی ان کو نہ گھرکنا اور آپ سے قرض یہ اب کرتی ہے زہرا پڑھیو میرے لاشے پہ نماز ہے میرے مولا پڑھیو میرے لاشے پہ نماز ہے میرے مولا فرقت میں نہ ان دونوں کی تر پائی صاحب بچوں کو میری
قبر پہ تم لائے ہو صاحب
بچوں کو میری
قبر پہ تم لائے ہو صاحب
نازک ہے مزاج ان کا یہ معلوم ہے مولا ہر بات میں بے ساختہ رو دیتا ہے چھوٹا ہے خوف الٹ جائے نہ سینے میں کل جا تم اس کو
میرے لاش پہ بھی رونے نہ دینا
تم اس کو میرے لاش
پہ بھی رونے نہ دینا
سب گود میں لے مرتبہ قرآن کا سمجھ کر گھر کے نہ
کوئی اب اسے بن ماں کا سمجھ کر
گھر کے نہ کوئی اب
اسے بن ماں کا سمجھ کر
الخصام دن ماتم زہرا میں جو گزرا شبائی کھلے گیسوں سے دینے کو پرسا حیدر نے کیا غسل کا سامان مہیا معصومہ
کے ہاتھ میں جو زخم لگا تھا
معصومہ کے ہاتھ میں جو
زخم لگا تھا
وہ دستے بطولہ خمیدان نظر آیا یہ دیکھتے
مکالی کے جگر آیا
یہ دیکھتے
مکالی کے جگر آیا
نہلا کے جو کفنانے لگے میت زہرا زینب نے کہا ہاتھوں سے سر پیٹ کے اپنا اماں کا میرے
ہاتھ سیدھا کرو بابا
اماں کا میرے
ہاتھ سیدھا کرو بابا
وہ رو کے پکارے
حمید آئی رہے گا
وہ رو کے پکارے
حمید آئی رہے گا
تابوت میں پھر میت زہرا کو لیٹا کر سب سے
کالوں میں بھی اور رخصت کرو آقا
سب سے کالوں بھی
اور رخصت کرو آقا
کہتے تھے علی فاطمہ کے لاش سے یہ بات بس فاطمہ بس ہو چکی بیٹوں سے ملاقات فرزندوں کی گردن سے جدا کیجیے اب ہاتھ رخصت بھی ہو اب زندہ کو لاش کا کیا ساتھ چلنے میں مسافر کے یہ دیری نہیں ہوتی میت میت سے صدائے صاحب میرے بچوں کو صاحب میرے بچوں کو خاطر سے میری دیر خاطر سے میری دیر ہوئے گا میری روح پہ احسان تمہارا بچوں سے
زیادہ مجھے کوئی نہیں پیارا
بچوں سے زیادہ مجھے
کوئی نہیں پیارا
معصوموں سے دم بھر میں بچھڑ جائے گی زہرا پھر کائے پھر کائے کوئی سینے سے لپٹائے گی زہرا
We would like to thank, on behalf of Hussainiya and Najul Balagha Study Group, Sheikh Nabil Awan Sahab for his presence and blessing us with a speech on how to read Najul Balagha and understand. And this program is jointly conducted by Najul Balagha Study Group, which is organizing online Sunday sessions for about a year now. And idea is to propagate Nabil Balagha message and how it can be made easy, especially for young ones and youth, to understand and apply it in our daily lives. May I now invite Sheikh Sahab to begin his speech. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى الجوهرة القدسية البتول العذراء فاطمة الزهراء وبعلها أمير المؤمنين وقائد الغر المحجلين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam, Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman, the one who is Rahim. It's an honor to be given this opportunity to come and speak to you, brothers and sisters, especially my younger brothers. It has been many, many years since I've done a youth majlis. And so inshallah, I will try and make it understandable for everyone that is here. Although we had announced that we would, or we previously announced that I'd speak about Nahjul Balagha, but seeing the demographics of the crowd, I hope you don't mind that I'll make it slightly more interesting. Because the discussion that was given is somewhat more academic and dry as anything, if the truth be told. So, inshallah, we'll make something, we'll incorporate it as well, especially because it is the Ayyam of Az-Zahra alayha salam. And where do we start with the Fada'il, or where do we start with who is Hazrat Zahra? The sixth Imam says, "Man arafa Fatima haqqa ma'rifatiha faqad adraka laylatul qadr." Says that the one who understands Fatima as is her right to be understood, faqad adraka laylatul qadr. It is as if he has uncovered the night of Qadr. The night of Qadr that is beyond comprehension. The night of Qadr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking mankind a rhetorical question within the Holy Quran. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. What will you understand of the night of Qadr? But knowing the arrogance of man and knowing how man is always saying that he knows better, he says to him, look, it is enough for you to know Laylatul Qadri خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ الشَّهْرِ. That the night of Qadr is greater than 1,000 months. That's enough for you to understand. Because the night of Qadr is far greater. You cannot comprehend the night of Qadr. The sixth Imam in this narration is saying, if you understood Fatima as is her right to be understood, it is as if you have uncovered the night of Qadr itself. But why is he making this comparison between the night of Qadr and Az-Zahra? Because in another narration, he says, Laylatul Qadri hiya Fatima. Says the night of Qadr is Fatima. That she is the night of Qadr. Then he continues, وَإِنَّمَا سُمِّيَتْ فَاطِمَةً لِأَنَّ الْخَلْقَ فُطِمُ عَنْ مَعْرِفَتِهَا. But she has been named Fatima for this reason. لأن الخلق فطموا عن معرفتها. That mankind will forever be deprived of knowing who she truly is. They will never be able to comprehend a lady that is known as Hawra al-Insiyya, a hur in human form. I.e., she was a creature of light that for a short period of 18 years wore the clothing of a human and came to earth. When someone comes to the sixth Imam, says to him, Yabna Rasulillah, this title of Az-Zahra as Hawra al-Insiyya, does it mean, is it metaphorical? The sixth Imam says, no. She is a hur. She is one of the ladies of heaven, one of the ladies that are made of light within the heavens. But he says that, so she is made of nur. He says not only is she made of nur, but her nur was created before anything was created. He says, what do you mean? He says Allah took her nur from his own nur. See, the narration says, in the beginning there was nothing. There was but God. And within himself, God manifested a name. And that name was Allah. And then from the name of Allah, he extracted a light. The light that the philosophers refer to as the primordial light. The light that emanates through every aspect of creation. The light that started from the start of creation and shall remain until the end. The primordial light. And he named it Muhammad. And then from that light he extracted another light. And he named that light Ali. And then from it again he extracted another light. And he named that light Fatima. From the pure name that was derived in the beginning, that was Allah. From it came the Muhammadan light. From that came the lights of Az-Zahra. And this is a very high philosophical concept. As to how is it God manifested a name. What does it mean? And the urafa, the ulama, they're baffled. They don't know. Because the narration is there. In the same way, they don't truly understand. We don't truly understand when the sixth Imam says, لِفَاطِمَةُ تِسْعَةُ أَسْمَاء عِنْدَ اللَّهِ فِي مَكْعَدٍ صَدْقٍ عِنْدَ مَلِيكٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. That Fatima has 9 names with Allah. At the level of being of indiyat, being annihilated with God. Her names are with God. Imagine what her maqam is. So her nur is created. So the sixth Imam is asked by his companions. So her creation was before, her nur was created before everything. So what did she do? It says Allah took her light and placed it on the right of the arsh. He said, Yabla Rasulillah, so then what, for all those millennia that the light of Zahra remained by the throne of God, what did she eat? What did she drink? The Imam says, the food and the drink of a Zahra was tahleel, tahmeed, takbir, or tasbih. Every time La ilaha illallah was said, that was her sustenance. Allahu Akbar was her sustenance. Alhamdulillah was her sustenance. Subhanallah was her sustenance. Zahra is beyond understanding. A hur that came in human form. An individual that has 9 names at the level of indiyat, of being with Allah. Not just that, but an entity who was never truly understood in this world. Why? فُطِمَتْ عَنْ مَعْرِفَتِهَا. Because human beings will never understand who she salamullah alayha is, except on one day, and that is Yawmul Qiyamah. When all of Mahshar is gathered, the call will come out. Lower your gazes, for Zahra enters. And this title of Az-Zahra, the radiant one, someone comes to the Imam and says, why is it that they named your grandmother Az-Zahra? He says, because when she would stand in the mihrab of ibadat and begin her salah, the light from her face would illuminate for the heavens, for the dwellers of heavens, the same way that the stars illuminated the earth for the dwellers of the earth. Says they would all benefit from the light that emanated from her. Thus she was called Az-Zahra. Yawm al-Qiyamah, she will enter. Everyone will be told, lower your gazes. Why? On that day there is no hijab. In fact, there will be people walking around, running around naked on that day. حاملا ذليلا حاملا ثقلي على الظهر. Naked, humiliated, running around on that day, carrying upon their back the burden of their sins. انظروا مرة عن يميني وأخراها عن شمالي إذ الخلائق شأن غير الشأن. The fourth Imam says in Dua Abu Hamza Thumari, says, and I'll look to my left and right and nobody will be concerned with me. Everyone will be bothered about themselves. No one will have any concern for me. So there is no concept of hijab on that day. So then why is it that the people are being told to lower their gazes? Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani, when giving tafsir of this hadith, he says that because on that day, Az-Zahra will come in her purest form, in her true form, and whoever looks towards her shall perish. And so all will be told, lower your gaze. She will come, and the hadith is very lengthy, that she will ride in on a camel of rahmah, on the left will be this, on the right will be this, 20,000 angels to the front, 20,000 to the side, and they will be holding in their hands banners, and the narration goes through all of this. Anyhow, she will come, and they will say to her, Zahra, as was promised, you shall be the first to enter into heaven. Go towards heaven. She'll take one step forward, and she'll stop. And they'll say to her, Zahra, why did you stop? She'll look towards the Arish and say, Ya Rab, أريد أن يعرف قدري في هذا اليوم. My Lord, I want these people to understand my true worth on this day. I want them to understand my true worth on this day. At that moment, the narration says that tongues of fire shall come out from hell, and all those that took away the haqq of Zahra and the children of Zahra, and whoever oppressed the children of Zahra will all be dragged into the depth of hell, all of mahshar dumbfounded as to what is it that is happening. Then they will say to her again, Zahra, enter. And again she will not. Say, my Lord, I will not enter until all of those that cried for my Hussein also enter into Jannah. You know what the mahar of Az-Zahra was? When the wedding of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Hazrat al-Zahra was confirmed, and Amir al-Mu'mineen said that this is the amount of mahriya, and the Holy Prophet said to Hazrat Fatima that this is the mahar that Ali is giving. Hazrat Zahra said, Father, can I have another mahar? Says, can I have another mahar? Says, Zahra, is that not enough for you what Ali is giving? She says, no, ya Rasulullah, I want a different mahar from Allah. Says, Zahra, what is it that you want? She says, I want the haqq of shifa'ah for all the sinners of your ummah. And so Jibreel alayhi salam comes down with a written note that says Zahra has the haqq of shifa'ah for all the mudhnibeen, all those that have committed sins. And when her death came near, she asked Amir al-Mu'mineen. Zahiran, in this narration, it seems Amir al-Mu'mineen himself was unaware of the existence of this paper, because she took it out and she said, Ya Ali, this I want you to bury with me. And he asks her, what is it? And he says, this is what Allah had promised me. Bury this with me, Ya Ali. So she says, Ya Allah, all of these sinners. She looks across and there are a group of people that have been taken to hell, deemed to go to hell. They've chained. But in between, the narration says, كَتَبَ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِمْ, but between their eyes is written, هَذَا مُحِبُّ فَاطِمَةِ, this is the lover of Fatima Zahra. Says, Ya Allah, this is one of my lovers. All these groups of people that you are sending to hell. The reply will come, Zahra, today is your day. You do as you please. Imam al-Baqir says, my mother Zahra will pass over the plains of Mahshar doing shifa'ah for all of those that were that needed that shifa'ah, that were going towards hell, all those that loved her, and those that loved her lovers, and those that were the azadar of her son Hussein, not just those that were the azadar of her son Hussein, but those that helped an azadar, those that gave water to an azadar, the ones that gave him any sort of food, that clothed him, that said nice words to him. Zahra alayha salam will do shifa'ah for all of them. Imam al-Baqir says, my mother will pass over the plains of Mahshar in the same way that a bird flies over the earth picking up seeds off the earth. My mother will pass over the plains of Mahshar doing shifa'ah for all of the individuals. There's no way that we can understand who she salawallah alayha is. That's haqq shifa'ah. It shouldn't make us too happy, because that shifa'ah of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam comes with criterion. The fundamental criterion of it is that an individual, at the very least, had put as much effort as they could in this dunya to achieve righteousness. And if they fall short, that's where the shifa'ah of Ahlul Bayt comes. Not that I don't pray, I don't fast, I don't do anything, and then just say, Ya Ali, and hopefully I'll be saved. Doesn't work like that. A person has to put all of their effort in. Work towards. When the Holy Prophet of Islam had left this world, and the haqq of Amir al-Mu'mineen had been stolen, Hazrat Zahra would go to different places and she would cry. And the hatred in the hearts of the Muslims was such that there was a tree that she would cry underneath. They came and they chopped the tree down. When she would cry in her home, they would come and complain to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ali told Zahra, either to cry during the night so we can sleep in the day, or tell her to cry in the day so that we can sleep in the night. But we can't bear her crying all the time. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen built her Baytul Huzn, a house outside of Medina, where she would walk with Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Hussein, go there, spend the day crying. At times she would go to the battlefields and sit by the grave of Hazrat Hamza. Because Hazrat Hamza, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Asadallah, before Amir al-Mu'mineen was given this title, Hazrat Hamza had it as being an individual of great bravery, the uncle of the Prophet, a massive support for the Holy Prophet. So she would go and she would sit there, and many a times you'll hear, even in the Karbala narrative, when Sayyidina Zainab is going, she's saying, Wa Hamzata, Wa Muhammad. Hazrat Hamza had this haiba amongst the Arabs. So Hazrat Zahra is going and she's sitting at the grave of Hazrat Hamza and crying. A man by the name of Mahmud ibn Lubayd comes to her. Says, Ya binta Rasulillah, why doesn't Ali stand? Why doesn't Ali go and actively try and get his right? We are here, we will support him. If Ali was to go pick up his sword, try and get his haqq back, we will support him. Tell Ali to go. Hazrat Zahra looks towards him, says, Mahmud ibn Lubayd, says, Mathalul Imam, Mathalul Kaaba. Says, the example of the Imam is like that of the Kaaba. Tu'ta wa la ta'ti. You go to the Kaaba doesn't come to you. You go to the Kaaba doesn't come to you. You standing here saying, why doesn't Ali rise? We will support him. You should rise, not wait for Ali to do so. We too have an Imam that we are awaiting. An Imam that is in ghaiba, not hidden from us. Often people misinterpret, mistranslate what is ghaiba. They said Imam's hiding, but he's hidden from us. When Ali bin Mahziyar, after years and years of doing a'mal to be able to see the Imam of the time, finally is sitting in Masjid Sahla, and someone comes to him and he's crying, and they say to him, Ali bin Mahziyar, why are you crying? He says, Uridu al-Imam al-Mahjub. He says, I want to see the hidden Imam. And this person with him that asks him this question it becomes angry. He says, who says your Imam is hidden from you? Hajabahu su'u a'malikum. Your sins have hidden him from you. Otherwise your Imam is here amongst you. So then when finally he goes to meet the Imam, and the Imam says to him that, Ali ibn Mahziyar, do you know why it took so long for us to meet finally? And he says, no, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I don't know. He says, because Ali ibn Mahziyar, you did not go to help those that were weak within your society. Working towards the Imam, going towards the Kaaba, isn't that I just simply sit and pray for the Imam, simply just try and stay away from sin. No, it is by being an active member of society as well. Imam is saying to Ali ibn Mahziyar, because you did not go to the aid of the mustad'ifeen within your society, we were separated from you. Sayyidina Zahra is saying to Mahmud ibn Lubayd, that was the fundamental problem of that time, and then every other time after that. Why was it that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam were not given their haqq? Because no one was willing to put the effort in. No one was willing to take a step towards the Kaaba. All of them were passive. All of them were passive. And right now within our society, there are many that are putting this deviation, this deviant thought into our minds as well. That, no, you just sit back, you don't get involved, don't do anything, you just do dua, that's all we need to do. It is not what we need to do. In fact, in this time that we live in, it is the most perilous of times. There is a tradition from the Holy Prophet. I want to have a look at it. I don't know how much of it will get done. It's quite lengthy, but inshallah we'll try and go all the way through it. The Holy Prophet says, يَأْتِي عَلِ النَّاسِ zaman. Says that there will come upon the people a time, meaning our time, Akhar zaman, in the ghaiba of the Hujjah. Says, يَأْتِي عَلِ النَّاسِ zaman. What will happen at that time? There will come a time upon the people, بُطُونُهُمْ آلِهَتُهُمْ. Their stomachs will become their gods. First characteristic. Now how is it that someone's stomach becomes their god? I don't worship my stomach. Or do I? Simple example. Holy month of Ramadan, iftar time, Maghrib time. Can I hold myself back? Can I hold myself back and at the very least do what my imams recommended and pray Maghrib first? Or is it, I've got to have a sneaky date first? بطونهم آلهتهم. Their stomachs have become their gods. They can't control their urges, their desires. And that's a very superficial, very easy example for us all to understand. There are people that will get so hangry when they're angry, and when they're hungry. Well, they're all hangry because they haven't got food. And so their mood changes. They become upset, they become happy when they see food. Their whole personality changes based upon the type of food that they're presented with. There are individuals that cannot wait 5 minutes to pray salah, but need to eat. In centers, I've been to certain centers where salah will be going on and there'll be people at the back already eating. بُطُونُهُمْ آلِهَتُهُمْ. What else is that? Their stomachs have become their gods. That they're run by their stomachs. Their very ambition in life is just to go and eat. And Amirul Mu'mineen, he says, قَدْرُ رَجُلٍ عَلَىٰ قَدْرِ حِمَّتِهِ. He says, the worth of a man, the worth of a human being is based upon his ambition. What is it that you want to achieve with your lives? What difference do you want to make in the world, in the society that you live in? Ali alayhi salam says your worth is defined by that. If you have no ambition, you have no worth. If you have no goals in your life, you have no worth. In fact, some people try and present a semi-humble approach to certain things, and they say, I only work to put food on my table. Yeah? Have we heard that before? Just as long as I've got food on my table, alhamdulillah, I don't need anything. So day and night they work and they earn to put food on their table and they eat it. Amirul Mu'mineen, again, Nahjul Balagha, he says that an individual whose sole purpose in life is to simply put food on his table, his worth is equivalent to that which comes out of his backside having eaten that food. Says Ali requires you to live for a higher purpose, a higher ambition, to live to help others, to better the society within which you live. But بطونهم آلهتهم, when the stomachs become the gods of the people, then I don't care about anyone else. All I'm worried about is filling my stomach. My personality changes. And wider society, the society that we live in, is based around that, to feed that قوة الشهوية, the power of desire that exists within the soul of a person. Shahwa is not just related to sins of the flesh, but it is also related to your desire to eat. Some people, their desire of eating is so out of control that, you'll say to them, fancy getting something to eat? And they'll be like, well, I'm not hungry, but I could eat. I know I shouldn't have that second slice of cake, but why not? YOLO. Yeah? Why not? I'll just have that second slice. Because the quwwat al-shahwiyya is out of control. It is not being tempered by quwwat al-aqliyya. Because if the aql was controlling the shahwa, it would say, but you're not really hungry. Now you've entered the realm of greed. Now that you've entered the realm of greed, now it's taking you away from Allah. So that simple slice of cake that we may see as harmless will make sins easier as well. Because remember, those sins of the flesh come from the very same power. That dog-eat-dog mentality that we see in wider society, doesn't matter whose head you need to step on in order for you to get ahead of everyone else. It's against the principles of Islam. It doesn't matter who you've got to cut out, who you've got to stand on, who you've got to bribe and do whatever in order for you to get ahead. It's all based in the quwwat al-shahwiyya. And so if I can't even control my cake eating, I'm not going to be able to control my lustful desires. I'm not going to be able to control the desire to go towards sin. I won't be able to control it. Because the quwwat al-aqaliyya must be at the forefront of everything that we do. So the first thing says, يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانْ بُطُونَهُمْ آلِهَتُهُمْ. The second thing, وَنِسَاءُهُمْ قِبْلَتُهُمْ. And their women will become their qibla. The women will become their qibla. Right? The focus of all of their attention will be women. What does this mean? In a modern day context, all the focus of attention. Right now, the objectification of women that happens with modern marketing methods, that even to sell something, they need a skimpily dressed woman in order to sell it. When they're trying to sell you a cologne or an aftershave, first of all, they'll show you this high lifestyle, this gentleman in a tux, beautiful woman by his side, car, high-rise building, and right at the end, for half a second, they'll show you the cologne. One, feeding into your desire. Why? Because they're trying to sell you a lifestyle that never be achieved. Hence why we live such unhappy lives, because we chase certain things, we buy certain things in the hope that it will make us happy. And so this society uses women, objectifies women in order to forward that aim. نِسَاءُهُمْ قِبْلَتُهُمْ. The third thing that the Holy Prophet says, وَدَنَانِيرُهُمْ دِينُهُمْ. And the dinar will become their religion. The dollar will become their religion. The same way that they're supposed to pray 5 times a day or wake up for example, Fajr. Now forget Fajr, but I'll wake up in the morning because the markets are opening, for example. and I need to watch the markets. Or some will use the deen to make money, as we see in our communities. People place a price on the blood of Abi Abdullah. They come and they say, okay, we want this much money to recite. Dinuhum dananiruhum. The religion has become only about the dinar. Or then you have, I don't know, you guys have TV channels or anything around here, or centers, all sorts. But what we do is, we're like, in the name of Imam Hussein, please donate. Is that all Ahlul Bayt is for us now? A cheap marketing ploy. In the name of the 72 shuhada, we're looking for 72 people to give $1,000. In the name of the 313, we're looking for 100 people to give 100, or 300 people to give $100. Because the hurma of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, ala zahir, when we're saying, we're pretending that there's no bigger Shia than me, but my actions show how much I cheapen Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Dananiruhum dinuhum, they will use the deen to make money, or their religion will become the deen. Their religion will become money. They will make sure they don't do anything so that they do not lose money. And they will do everything that will help them make money. Whereas it should be the other way. They'll make sure, it should be they'll do everything so that they don't accrue sin. And they'll try and do everything so that they accrue thawab, so that they may enter into Jannah. But the human being has been brought to that level where now the dinar is his deen. وَشَرَفَهُمْ مَطَاعَهُمْ. The next thing, their sharaf, their honor, will be derived from the things that they own. The car that they drive will make them feel more important. Or others will give them more importance because of the size of the house that that person lives in, or the type of car that they drive. We see it everywhere. Inshallah, not in this Husayniyah, but in places around the world. Those that are big donators. MashaAllah, you've come, please, at the front. Because you gave 10,000 to the Husayniyah. Sharafahum mata'ahum. Our level, our mizan, our scale, our yardstick of being able to tell who is worthy of respect is the possessions that they have. Whereas the deen says, Inna akramakum indallah atqakum. The one that is greater is the one that has more piety. But we don't look at piety. Piety, we want to see, how big's the house, how big's the car, the type of clothes they wear. Sharafahum mata'ahum. And this applies to us as well. As speakers, we wear these garbs and all of a sudden, magically, we get more respect. I remember I was staying once in one of the Husayniyas in America, and obviously my room was there as well in the separate flat. So I had to do something, and so I just wearing normal clothes. I was walking through the halls and going to do something, and I was walking past people, Salaam alaikum, and nobody's giving me a reply. Nobody's replying to me. This is very odd. There's salam and everyone's just carrying on their own way. Walking, some people aren't even saying salam, just like salam. Later that evening, I put on the bat suit, right? Walking down the hall, Salamun alaikum wa jawad, Salamun alaikum wa Allah, Salamun alaikum wa. That's like during the day. You didn't. شرفهم متاعهم. The sharaf, the barometer for seeing who is worthy of respect will be material things, not that which exists within. لا يبقى من الإسلام لا يبقى من الإيمان إلا اسمه. Nothing will remain of their iman, of their faith, except their name. They will be called Haydar, or they will be called Ali, or they will be called Fatima, or they will be called Ja'far, they will be called Kadhim. All of these names, and it will be indicative that they are from the Shia, but when you look at them, when you see how they act, you would not know the difference between them and a non-Muslim. Nothing will remain of their iman except their name. Otherwise, they're called Ali, they're called Fatima. MashaAllah, we get Ali and Fatima married and we throw a dance party. لا يبقى من الإيمان إلا اسمه. Have music at weddings. Have dancing at weddings. Have no hijab, no idea of hijab, no concept of hijab. Male and female. Hijab doesn't just apply to females. Male and female hijab. They will have all of these nice, honorable, religious names. But you look at them, you couldn't tell. It'd be anybody's guess. In the masjid, MashaAllah, what an Azadari, what a person, always in the front line of praying and salah. Butter wouldn't even melt in this person's mouth. Here and then, here there, MashaAllah, Muhammad, and Jawad. And they go to work and they're Mo and Joe. So that they can do everything that they want to do. So that nobody, can attribute it to. They hear very MashaAllah, great. And at home, no idea of hijab. There's no respect for spouse. Very bad with their family, with akhlaq. لا يبقى من الإيمان إلا اسمه. Nothing will remain of Islam except his name. How do I compare it? How do I know whether my iman, my actions are at that level? And Amir al-Mu'mineen, again, he says, أنا ميزان الأعمال. I am the scale. Weigh how you're living your life and the actions to what Amir al-Mu'mineen, not to the way Amir al-Mu'mineen lived, because he himself, in Nahj al-Balagha, many a times, he says that you can't live like me. Even to Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein, he says that my sons, you can't live like me. You can't live like me. The way I live is different. Even you, though they are ma'soom imams, says you can't live like me. But have wara', have taqwa, all of these things. So we weigh ourselves up with what it is Amirul Mu'mineen has told us, what he expects from us, and what is it that my life, I'm doing with my life. وَمِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ إِلَّا رَسْمُهُ. Nothing will remain of their Islam except rasm, tradition. They don't know why they do it. Alhamdulillah, I see the brothers were reciting, mashallah, beautifully in Urdu. And alhamdulillah, they understand it. I saw some of them were reading from the Urdu books as well. This is commendable. But in England, I've come across situations where people are reciting Nawhas in Urdu and stuff like that. And so, mashallah, you speak Urdu? No. Do you understand what you're reciting? No. She's got a nice voice. Nothing remains of Islam illa rasmo. It's because we do it. Otherwise, I don't know why. And mashallah, we start like to create more new rasms and bid'ah as well. Now, mashallah, everybody's cutting cakes for the imams. Like the imams were living around here, getting a big zulfiqar. Oh, excuse me, getting a big zulfiqar to cut the cake and cut the name of the imam. We're introducing bid'ah. See, you don't know what the effect of it will be 15 years down the line. I remember like 10 years ago or so, 12 years ago maybe, I was speaking when this first started in England. Because many a times, we start all the fitna there and then we export it. And then we let it come to North America and places. But we usually start all the fitna that way. So when it started, I said, where's this going to go in 10 years' time, 12 years' time? Like, this is a slippery slope. The adults are doing it. They know their niyyah is pure. But their children who never even attend the Husayniyah, then when dad's dead and buried, now the son's got to take over because that's what we do. And so they turn up and they're like, okay, well, they used to cut a cake for the imam. I guess a sign of happiness. Maybe we should add something else to it. Maybe some party hats. You don't know. So I was just saying this, 10, 12 years ago. 3 months ago, I went to an event. They called me to recite for the wedding of Amir al-Mu'mineen Azadari. And there they brought out this big cake to cut. I said, you know my position. Take it, cut it yourselves. I'm not cutting any cake. And so they're like, oh, no, that's fine, we're going to do it. And then they're handing things out. What are they handing out? Everybody's got party poppers. Yeah? And they're cutting the cake, mashallah, whoop, and letting off these party poppers. Where does it start? See, when we introduce certain bid'ah and these innovations, then later on we need to think 15, 20 years down the line, what will be left of this? So it says, La min al-Islam illa rasmuh. Islam will only be a cultural thing for them. It's because their parents did it, so they come. There's no essence of the deen. There's no understanding behind why it is that they do what they do. Because no one bothered to tell them why they do what they do. Just force them to do it. And then we're like, well, I don't know why our kids are becoming atheists. What do you think? Everyone's leaving the deen, they don't attend anymore. Well, there's a reason for it. They never understood it in the first place. It says, towards that time, nothing will remain of Islam except rasm. وَلَا مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ إِلَّا دَرْسُهُ. And nothing will remain of Qur'an except the teaching of it. I.e., parents will send their kids, go, recite Qur'an. You have to learn Qur'an. And then their kids will go through it, they'll finish it, and then everybody will throw a big party. Woohoo, my child finished Qur'an, and now he can stop reciting like I have. And then when his grandfather dies, then we'll pick it up. Have a read of it. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. I don't recite Qur'an at home. So how do I expect my children to recite it? Then why am I forcing them to go and recite it? And they realize subconsciously, now father isn't reciting. That means when you're a child, you recite Qur'an. When you're adult, you just put it away. It says, لا من القرآن إلا درسه. Nothing will remain of the Holy Quran except those that will go and try and learn how to recite it. After that, they won't implement its lessons. They won't know anything about it. They won't understand its tafsir. They won't utilize it within their lives. All they will know is how to recite it, even though it will be terribly bad. With none of the qawa'id of the Arabic language being adhered to in the least. The ayn will become the alif and the sad will become a sin and ila akhir. changing the meanings up and down, left and right. I'll give you an example of that actually. In Surah Al-Tawheed, we have قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ Allahu Samad with a Sad, Allahu Samad. But we from the Indo-Pak subcontinent say Samad with the Sin. Like we just don't even bother with the Sad, right? Samad, just on our tongue. Samad with the Sad is one of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Samad with the Sin means feces. Means poo for the younger boys and girls. So now you're saying Allahu and you're not pronouncing the Sad. You changed the meaning. It's a big problem. وَلَا مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ إِلَّا الدَّرْسُونَ. Nothing will remain of the Quran except its dars. مَسَاجِدُهُمْ مَعْمُورًا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ خَرَابٌ مِنَ الْهُدَى. They will create masajid, beautiful Husayniyas. وَقُلُوبُهُمْ خَرَابٌ مِنَ الْهُدَى. But their hearts will be destroyed of any sort of guidance. They're not going to change. They build lovely masjids. But they still lie, they're still jealous, they still do ghiba, they still don't understand Tawheed properly, they still do ghulu, they are still lowering the status of the imams, they're still not paying their khums, they still have the money, they're not going on Hajj. مساجدهم معمورة وقلوبهم خراب من الهدى. There's no guidance. They build beautiful masjids, import marble from all different parts of the world. Lakin they have no sort of guidance in their life. It's just a pet project. Then the Holy Prophet, he says that if these situations arise, حينئذ ابتلاهم الله بأربع خصال. When these things happen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inflict this nation, this community with four things. What is that? جور من السلطان, oppressive kings will come upon them. وقحط من الزمان, and they will suffer droughts that they have never seen before, famines that they have never seen. وظلم من الولاة والحكام, and they will be placed under dhulm, oppressed by governors and ministers. Didn't Montreal just recently pass a ban on hijab? Or they're debating it. وظلم من الحكام. Sometimes we live in this state, but we don't realize. We don't realize that the hadith is speaking about us. فَتَعَجَّبَ الصَّحَابَةِ. The Sahaba became shocked. Ya Rasulullah, this is really how bad these people will be? Like, أَيَعْبُدُونَ الْأَسْنَامِ. Will they be worshipping idols? Will they be mushriks? These people that you're talking about? And you say, no, they're Muslims. He says, but أَيَعْبُدُونَ الْأَسْنَامِ. Will they be worshipping idols as well? I mean, what else is left? وَقَالَ, and the Holy Prophet will say, نَعَمْ. Yes. كُلُّ دِرْهَمْ عِنْدَهُمْ سَنَمْ. Every dollar for them will be an idol, will be a god for them. Every dollar will be a god for them. This is that time that we are living in. We are facing these oppressive times. We are facing the change of times. In dua iftitah, what do we complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about? وَتَظَاهُرَ الزَّمَانِ عَلَيْنَا. We complain to you about the vicissitudes of time that have turned against us. That have turned against us. Time changes. And these difficulties will come. The i'tiqadi difficulties of belief, as well as the social difficulties. The Holy Quran, when it speaks about the test, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will test mankind with fear, with hunger, yeah, with loss of wealth, with their children, with themselves. وَبَشِّرَ الصَّابِرِينَ, glad tidings to those that are patient. الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. They are the ones that say, إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. We're already being tested with fear. This whole COVID situation, this is fear. Fear of what? Not of catching COVID, but of death. إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي تَفِرُّونَ مِنْهُ فَإِنَّهُ مُلَاقِيكُمْ. This death that you run from, eventually it will meet you. Yes, one takes precaution. One does it. But you see Husayniyas around the world empty. Nobody wants to come out. Partly because we've now got an excuse to sit at home. Yeah, at that time, people were forced. Now we've got the perfect excuse to just sit at home. I can put my feet up and listen to majlis. Well, it's a perfect situation. And then I can blame COVID. I don't even have to feel guilty about it. Even though now we have opportunities to come back out. So this itself, I said many times that it is a sieving process. Something Imam says, إِنَّ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ لَا يَأْتِكُمْ إِلَّا بَعْدَ إِيَّاسِ وَاللَّهَ حَتَّى تَمَيَّذُوا. Says that this Sahib Amr will not come to you until the people have despaired. By Allah, it is a sieving process. Sieves remove the good from the bad. Take out that which is bad, keep that which is good. But one way of success is as Zahra alayhi salam taught us, مَثَلُ الْإِمَامِ مَثَلُ الْكَعْبَةِ. The example of the Imam is like that of the Kaaba. تُؤْتَى وَلَا تَأْتِي. You go to the Imam. You actively work towards developing yourself for your Imam. You don't sit around passively waiting for him to come. Allahumma ajjil waliyaka al-faraj is not us waiting for the Imam. That is the Imam waiting for us. We're not waiting for the Imam. He's waiting for us to be ready. So this is the lesson that we take from her life. She is Hawra al-Insiyya, a Hur in human form. But why is it that this Hur is at the mosque of the Prophet for months, crying, Subbat alayya masa'ibun law annaha, Subbat ala al-ayyama sirna layaliya. Oh Ahmad, if the sorrows that had befallen me had fallen on the darkest of nights, on the brightest of days, surely they would have become the darkest of nights. Why is it now when Ali buries his night in the night, he puts her inside the grave, Kalla ya Rasulullah an safiyatika sabri. Ya Rasulullah, now the sabr of Ali has finished. Ya Rasulullah, you ask her yourself what this ummah did. And then he places his face on her grave. Nafsi ala zafaratiha mahbusatun. Ya laytaha kharajta ma'a zafarati. لا خير بعدك في الحياة وإنما مخافة أن تطول حياتي. He says, Zahra, how I wish I had died with you today. Zahra, I feel trapped in this dunya without you. That man that was the conqueror of Khaybar, the one that was the conqueror of Khandak, the one that was never afraid of anything in this world. Now he says to us, Zahra, I'm afraid. I'm only afraid of one thing. وَإِنَّمَا مَخَافَةَ أَن تَطُولَ حَيَاتِي. That Zahra, I have to live this life without you by my side. That is what I, Ali, am afraid of. Then he says to Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, you ask her, this amana you gave me. It was in a salim state, but Ya Rasulullah, when I return it back to you, this amana is not in the state that you gave it. Ya Ali, what do you mean? How is it that Zahra is not in the state that she was given to you by Rasulullah? The reply will come, the Muslims came to the door. The Muslims came to the door. 3 times they came to the door of Amirul Mu'mineen. The first time they said, tell Ali to come out. Hazrat Zahra went to the door, said, leave us be. We are mourning my father. The second, a few days later, they came again. They said, tell Ali to come out and give bay'ah, or else we will set fire to the door. She says that this is the door of wahi. Will you dare do this? Again they leave. The third time is when they actually bring firewood with them. Now as they stand outside the door, they call out, Ali, ukhrij lil bay'ah. Ali, come out, come and give bay'ah. If not, we will burn down this house around you. Zahra alayha salam stands up. She goes towards Amirul Mu'mineen, asks for permission. Ali kisses her hands. Zahra goes towards the door. She stands behind the door. She says, this is the door where Rasulullah would recite ayat tathir. Will you burn down this door? He replies to her, he says, Zahra, you have come out and Ali is sitting behind the curtains. Go back, woman, this is a man's job. A man, send out the men from the house. Zahra says, Ali is not hiding. You know that Ali is following the wasiyah of Rasulullah. I am that same Zahra. They say to her, Zahra, Rasulullah is gone. There's now no more angel. There is no more wahi. And Ali is but a normal man from amongst the Muslims. Send him out. Zahra alayha salam. They begin to push against the door. They say Zahra placed her hands in the door. The second, seeing the hands of Zahra, takes the whip from the hands of his slave Kunfud. He whips the hands of Zahra. The sixth Imam says that the sign of that whip, the mark of that whip, Athar al-Dumluji, that whip that stayed, Al-Aswad al-Dumluji, upon the hands of Zahra, left a black mark upon the arms of Zahra. She pulls her hands back, cries out, Ya Rasulullah ilahi, Allahumma inna nashku ilayka faqda nabiyyina. Oh Allah, I complain to you for the loss of our Prophet. Oh Ya Rasulullah, look what this ummah do to your daughter Zahra. At that moment they set fire to the door. They kick open the door. Zahra standing crushed between the wall and the door. In the letter that he wrote to Muawiyah, he said, when I realized Zahra was behind the door, I kicked it open and I realized that she was crushed between the wall and the door. He says, I pushed with all my force until I heard her scream. What did Zahra say? Ya Fizda khudini, fa wallah asqatu janini. Oh Fizda, come and help me, for by Allah they have killed my child. Zahra falls to the ground. They entered into the house of Ali. They tied ropes around the neck of Amirul Mu'mineen. Zahra, as they're beginning to take him out, again Zahra stands in the way. Khallu Ali, let Ali go. And he turns to his slave Kunfud. He says, what are you waiting for? Move Zahra out of the way. Kunfud goes forward. He slaps Hazrat Zahra in the face. She falls to the ground. The narration says he takes the cover of his sword. He begins to beat Zahra on the ground. Zahra falls unconscious. Sa'adallahu qalbaka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ali is watching this. They say that Ali looked towards the heavens. Ilahi, my Lord, this is what you had commanded. So Ali is being patient. Ilahi, sa'idni ala musabi Fatima. Ilahi, sabbarni ala musabi Fatima. Oh Allah, give me patience upon the Masa'ib of Az-Zahra. They drag Amirul Mu'mineen out from the house. They say the Aba of Amirul Mu'mineen. As they're dragging him out, he lays it upon his Zahra. As they drag Amirul Mu'mineen towards the masjid, Zahra alayha salam opens her eyes. She looks towards Fadda. She forgets about the rib that was broken, her child that was lost, the arm that was whipped. She turns to Fadda. She says, Fadda, Aina Ali? Where did they take Ali? She says to her, Sayyidati wa Mawlati, they took Ali to the masjid. They say Zahra alayha salam gathered her strength, one hand on her rib, one hand on the walls of Medina. Zahra makes her way towards the masjid. As she enters into the masjid, what does she see? Ali, ropes around his neck. They place the sword to the neck of Ali, trying to force him to give bay'ah. Zahra goes in, Khallu Ali, let Ali go. Then no one listens. Again she says, let Ali go. The third time Zahra says, if you don't let Ali go, by Allah I will pray to Allah to curse every single one of you. At that moment the walls of Masjid Nabi begin to shake. Amirul Mu'mineen turns to Salman, says, Salman, tell Zahra to go back home. If she curses these people, Allah will send Qiyamah at this very moment. Salman goes to Sayyida, says, Sayyidati wa Mawlati, you return back home. She says, Salman, how can I go? Ali is still here. He says, Sayyidati, Ali himself has requested that you return back home. Seeing this, the Muslims, they let Ali go. Zahra returned home. Some say 90 days from the incident of the door until the shahadat of Zahra. How is it that she, salamullah alayha, spent these days? They say Zahra, every time she would read Quran, she would cry. Every time she would read namaz, she would cry. Her dua, Ilahi ajil wafati, was heard by her children. Oh Allah, hasten my death. They say every time Zahra secluded herself from the whole family. Amirul Mu'mineen himself couldn't look his Zahra in the eye anymore. The shame that Amirul Mu'mineen felt. Zahra Marzi had never said anything to Amirul Mu'mineen. After all of those difficulties that she faced, but these days were difficult. Someone comes to the sixth Imam and says that I have seen in narrations that Imam al-Hassan narrated that at times I would come out at night and I would see my mother Zahra leaning against the wall. Sometimes her chadar would be in front of her face, sometimes it would have moved, and I realized that my mother was asleep and she would be sleeping sitting up. Is this true? The sixth Imam says, yes, it is true. Says that to Mawla, but your grandmother was ill. Why didn't she lay down and then stretch her legs when she wanted to sleep? The Imam says, because if Zahra wanted to lay on one side, it was the pain of the whips of Kunfur. If she laid on the other side, the pain of her broken womb would keep her awake. If she laid on her back, she could not breathe because of the broken rib. But soon that day came. Zahra stood up. Amirul Mu'mineen looks towards her. Ya Zahra, you're feeling better today. You're looking better today. Zahra, alhamdulillah. She prepares Imam al-Hassan. She combs the hair of Imam al-Hussein. She sends the Sayyida Zainab Kulthum. All of them happy. She's cleaning the home once again. She's up out of her room. Amirul Mu'mineen says to her, Zahra, you're looking so much better. That you've come, you're taking part with us. She says to him, Ya Ali, last night I saw my father in my dream. Amirul Mu'mineen says, Zahra. She says that Rasulullah told me that I am going to meet him tonight. Ya Ali, this is the last day of my life. They say Amirul Mu'mineen began crying. Says, Zahra, you're talking about leaving Ali? She says, Ya Ali, from amongst the wasiyah that she gave, she says to him, Ya Ali, when you cry, wabkini, cry for me. But separate your crying into two. وَابْكِنِي وَابْكِنِ لِلْيَتَامَى. Ali, cry for me and cry for my orphans that I will leave behind. But Ali, cry for one of them more than you cry for the other. وَابْكِ لِلْحُسَيْنِ. But cry for my Hussein that will be left in the desert of Iraq more than all of the others. Don't forget to cry for my Hussein. Then she says to him, Ya Ali, I have a request from you. Ya Ali, دفني بالليل كفني بالليل وحنطني بالليل وغسلني بالليل. Ya Ali, bury me at night. Ya Ali, give me ghusl at night. Ya Ali, give me hunut at night. Ya Ali, give me kafan at night. Why in the dark, Zahra? They say Amirul Mu'mineen went to the masjid. As she says to Asma, says Asma, I'm retiring to my room. As long as you hear me doing munajat with my Lord, know that I am alive. But when you can no longer hear, know that I have left this world. Asma says, I paced outside the room of Zahra. I could hear her reciting munajat with her Lord. But soon that voice stopped. She says, I called out, Ya Mawlati, Ya Zahra. There was no reply. Ya Binta Rasulillah. There was no reply. Ya Sayyidati, there was no reply. She says, I went into the room. I saw the lifeless body of Zahra lying upon her bed. She says, I thought to myself, how will I tell Amirul Mu'mineen? How will I tell Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein? She walked out the room. At that moment, Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein came in. They said, Asma, where is our mother? She says, your mother is sleeping. Allow her to rest. They say to her, Asma, this isn't the time that our mother usually sleeps. She says, why don't you have something to eat first? They say, Asma, you know we never eat without our mother Zahra by our side. Imam al-Hassan runs into the room. He calls out, oh Hussein, we have become orphans. He throws himself on the chest of his mother. Imam al-Hussein comes running in the room. The narration says he placed his cheek on the feet of his mother. Ya أمه أنا حسين كلميني قبل أن يفارق روحي من جسدي. Oh mother, I'm your Hussein. Speak to me before my soul leaves my body. The children run towards the masjid. They run inside. Amirul Mu'mineen sitting there. He hears a commotion. They say that he hears Imam al-Hussein calling out, Matat Ummuna Zahra. Our mother Zahra has died. They say Ali, the conqueror of Khaybar, Ali, the conqueror of Khandak, when he stood, وَوَكَعَ عَلَى وَجْهِ. Ali fainted, falling to the ground. When Ali came around, they say that he walked. The distance from the masjid to the house of Amirul Mu'mineen was short, but they say that Ali would walk and then sit on the ground. And then he would stand and walk some more and then sit on the ground. Numerous times Ali sat on the ground before he reached the door of his house. He enters into the house. He sends everyone away. It's the time of Maghrib. Sends them all away. Says, we have delayed the funeral of Zahra. In accordance to her wishes, Amirul Mu'mineen comes to give ghusl to his Zahra. In the night, why is it that she asked him to give him ghusl in the night? Of all times. Amirul Mu'mineen, there was a cloth placed upon her. Asma was pouring water. Ali was giving the ghusl to his Zahra. Before that, he had come and told all of the children that don't cry loudly in case the enemies realize that we are about to bury your mother. So he says, all of the children, the narration say, all of the children of Amirul Mu'mineen sat in the corner, biting their fingers and crying slowly, so that no one would hear their cries for their mother Zahra. Ali is giving ghusl upon Hazrat Zahra. At one moment they say Ali himself pulled his hand away. He turned and placed his head on the wall and began screaming loudly, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Asma came to him, Ya Ali, you yourself requested us not to cry loudly. Ya Ali, why are you crying loudly? Says Asma, as my hand was running over the body of Zahra and I reached the rib cage of Zahra, Asma, there was a dip in the ribs of Zahra. Asma, today I have seen those wounds that Zahra hid from me. Asma, how did Zahra breathe with these wounds? Amirul Mu'mineen gathers himself. He gives the kafan to Hazrat Zahra. Last riwayah, he says after he's given the kafan, he calls all of the children. He says, children, come, bid farewell to your mother. Come say farewell to your mother. All of the children come, but the narration says Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein ran faster. They came and they held on to the body of their mother. They began crying loudly. They cried so much that a voice was heard from heaven. Ali, separate the boys from their mother because the angels of heaven are crying. There was only one other place upon the death of an individual that a voice came from heaven to give solace. Here, the children were bidding farewell to their mother. In that occasion, a father was bidding farewell to his son. Where was that second place? Here Hussein is saying, bidding farewell to his mother, and the angels of heaven are crying. In Karbala, Hussein held the 6-month-old body of his son Ali Asghar. فَبَكَى الْحُسَيْنِ بُكَاءً شَدِيدًا. Hussein cried so loudly that a voice was heard from heaven. Hussein, leave the child. We have wet nurses waiting for him in heaven. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم حسين.
या हुसैन तेरी ज़हरा पे मुसीबत की घड़ी है, हाय बाबा तेरी ज़हरा पे मुसीबत की घड़ी है, हाय बाबा तेरी ज़हरा पे मुसीबत की घड़ी है, हाय बाबा कैसे दरवाज़ा हटाऊं, कैसे मोहसिन को बचाऊं, सांस सीने में रुकी है, तेरी ज़हरा पे मुसीबत, हाय बाबा तेरी ज़हरा हाथ में जिसके मेरा हाथ दिया था तुमने, कह के मन कुन तुझसे मौला कहा था तुमने, मैंने हर मोड़ पे बाबा साथ उसका है निभाया, हाँ मेरा जुर्म यही है, तेरी ज़हरा हाय बाबा تیری امت نے بنا دی ہے یہ حالت بابا، کوئی پسلی بھی نہیں میری سلامت بابا، سانس لیتی ہوں میں جس دم گھٹنے لگتا ہے میرا دم، صرف مرنے کی کمی ہے تیری زہرا، ہائے بابا کبھی دربار میں پیشی کو بلاتے ہیں ہمیں، کبھی دروازے پہ آ کے ستاتے ہیں ہمیں، میرے یہ پھول سے بچے پوچھتے ہیں یہی مجھ سے، کیا خطا ہم سے ہوئی ہے تیری زہرا، ہائے بابا شرم آتی ہے بھلا تم کو بتاؤں کیسے، یہ تماچوں کے نشاں تم کو دکھاؤں کیسے، تم نہ پہچان سکو گے دیکھ کر مجھ کو کہو گے کیا میری زہرا یہی ہے تیری زہرا، آئے بابا یہ اذیت یہ خاموشی نہیں دیکھی جاتی، مجھ سے تنہائی علی کی نہیں دیکھی جاتی، تیرا پیغام سنانے حق ولایت کا بتانے زہرا گھر گھر میں گئی ہے تیری زہرا، ہائے بابا تیری آپ کے سوگ میں تاریخ نہ دیکھا گیا گھر، آگ دروازے پہ امت نے لگا دی آ کر، بابا جاں بعد تمہارے دیکھیے گھر میں ہمارے روشنی کیسے ہوئی ہے تیری زہرا، ہائے بابا قبر زہرا سے تکلم یہ صدا آتی ہے، کتنی صدیوں سے میری قبر پہ ویرانی ہے، پھول تربت پہ چڑھا کے رکھ دیا لا کے جلا کے، کیا مدینے میں کوئی ہے تیری زہرا کی گھڑی،
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے. دربار میں تیری زہرا کو، دربار میں تیری زہرا کو جھٹلانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا. یا علی میرے بابا ہر لمحہ جس در کو چوما کرتے تھے، اس در کو جلانے والے اور اس در کو جلانے والے اور جلوانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے نہ. یا علی میری میت پر میرا. یا علی میری حسرت تھی تم کو بابا کے ممبر پر دیکھوں. ہے تیری جگہ اس ممبر پر، ہے تیری جگہ اس ممبر پر آ جانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے. یا علی میری میت. یا علی سب اہل ثقیفہ کو پیغام میرا یہ دے دینا، بابا کے پاک جنازے پر، بابا کے پاک جنازے پر نہ آنے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا. یا علی پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، بالوں میں سفیدی چھائی ہے. زہرا کو تیری اس حالت میں، زہرا کو تیری اس حالت میں پہنچانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے. یا علی میری میت. یا علی میرے محسن پر گریا، حق تھا میرا جو چھین لیا. یا علی مجھے مرتے مرتے بھی، یا علی مجھے مرتے مرتے بھی تڑپانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق. یا علی زینب کی آنکھوں میں مجھے خوف دکھائی دیتا ہے. گردن میں تیری ہے تنگ رسن، گردن میں تیری ہے تنگ رسن پہنانے والے نہ آئے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے. یا علی میری میت پر میرا. حقیقت کو چھپ کر تاریکی میں دفنا دینا. رونے کے لیے مجھ پر مجھ کو رونے کے لیے مجھ پر مجھ کو رلوانے والے نہ آئیں. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے نہ. یا علی سلمان میں بکا نوحہ میسم کے لیے کیسے لکھوں جب تک جنت میں لے جا کر جب تک جنت میں لے جا کر لکھوانے والے نہ آئیں. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے نہ آئیں. یا علی میری میت پر میرا حق کھانے والے نہ آئیں. یا حسین.
السلام علیکم یا رسول اللہ، السلام علیکم یا امیر المؤمنین، السلام علیکم یا فاطمۃ الزہرا، السلام علیکم یا خدیجۃ الکبریٰ، السلام علیکم یا حسن المجتبیٰ، السلام علیکم یا حسین الشہید، السلام علیکم یا عباس ابن امیر المؤمنین، السلام علیکم یا علی زین العابدین ومحمد الباقر وجعفر الصادق والموسى القادم واليعرض ومحمد تقی وعلی النقی والحسن العسکری ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علیکم یا صاحب العصر والزمان، الامان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام علیکم یا شریک القرآن وکعبۃ الایمان وامامنا وامام الانس والجان. عجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وسہل اللہ تعالی مخرجک وظہورک. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ.
اللهم صل على